John, have I told you I'm addicted to Carwell's auctions?
You might have mentioned it, yeah.
Well, they're online 6 days a week. They're getting 20,000 fresh vehicles in every month. It's actually one of my best sources of quality stock. Listings have got plenty of photos, service history, and background checks for peace of mind. And you can pay sellers in a click with Carwell Wallet. They even transport your car with built-in protection of up to £25,000.
Well, that's more than you will ever need.
Exactly, John. So, dealers, if you're not on CarWow, you really should get in on the auction. See what I've done, John?
Oh, God.
Anyway, to find out more, sign up for free at carwow.co.uk/partners/auctions.
Welcome back to the Car Dealer Podcast, where we pick our favourite stories of the week and ask an industry guest to choose which were the best. I'm John Ray, and joining me this week is Suzuki dealer James Baggett. James, how many Jimneys have we sold?
Couple, John, actually. Yes, a couple of Suzuki Jimneys. It's been quite... well, I haven't actually sold them. Joe sold them. I just happened to be in the same dealership at the time they were sold. But yes, we've had a bit of success with those imports that we picked up last week.
Sorry, those imports that you didn't import.
I know. Do you know what the most ironic thing is? We've sold 2 brand new Jimneys this week, and the ones that you and I bought on February the 7th still haven't been IVA tested. They're actually being IVA tested today, so they won't go out the door until probably October. It's difference between doing the imports yourself and using someone who is an expert. So yeah, that's been quite exciting. I've had a little bit of electric car woe this week though, John.
Okay, that sounds like me.
Yeah, it does.
What?
Well, everybody's saying you need to try electric cars, and we do try every now and again. We sold a Nissan Leaf before, bit of success with that one, sold pretty quickly. So I've bought another Nissan Leaf. Unfortunately, I didn't go to pick it up, and it's got a few problems, John. The main one is the fact that it hasn't got the SD card for the screen, and if you haven't got the SD card for the screen, nothing works. So it completely stops. So this morning, Luke has been up to the Nissan main dealer who tried to fix it and basically said, not sure we can do anything with this. He said, we can't get hold of an SD card for that.
Now, you did actually ask me to have a look on eBay and see if I could find one. And it is very complicated because it's not very complicated. It shouldn't be very complicated, but it's very specific, isn't it? Because this is a first gen Leaf and they have like a system from Japan, not a system like you get in a Qashqai. And so it's a completely different SD card. It's a completely different setup. And evidently, people who are selling one on eBay do that thing of, I know what I've got, and charge.
Well, the thing is, they don't know what they've got because the SD cards are linked to the VIN. So if they're selling one on eBay, they're practically useless. So the one that we bought is basically just a crap piece of plastic that I'm going to throw in the bin because it has to be new and coded to the car apparently. So that has been incredibly painful, and also hasn't got a normal charging cable. Hasn't got like a 3-pin one, so that's caused us a few problems because we can't plug it in anywhere. So we're rapidly running out of charge. But yeah, and also yesterday I bought a Renault Zoe, John. Which it was a part exchange. And I had to give the guy the really bad news that when I Experian checked it, it had a mileage anomaly. So in 2019, the MOT station had put a 2 instead of a 3 at the start of the mileage that they'd logged. Which basically throws it all out. So I had a bit of a panic and I had to say to the guy, I'm really sorry, it's got this. And he said, well, how much will you give me for it? I said, probably 500 quid. And he went, all right, take it. So I bought a £500 Renault Zoe, John.
That's actually not bad value.
It's not bad value. And I'm actually thinking about keeping it for the winter because I rode into work yesterday on my pedal cycle and I got so wet I had to dry all of my clothes with a hot heat gun. Which was quite the sight, but yeah. So it's been an interesting week.
I mean to say you've not got a tumble dryer in that little kitchenette of yours?
No,
will be the next one, surely.
Yeah. But anyway, enough of boring stories. We've got a brilliant guest. Let's get to him.
Yes. Oh, I'm fine, by the way, James. Thanks for asking.
Are you good? I'm pretty sure I have. You have been out and about, though, haven't you? Please tell me what you did yesterday because
I have been out and about. I've been driving some cherries. I know it's like deja vu because I went to a cherry thing last week.
So what? Hang on, they had the brand launch last week.
Yeah.
And 4 days later, you're out driving the cars. I mean, nothing like Chinese efficiency, is there?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And would you believe in about another 20 days, there's another launch for an Omoda?
Well, the facelifted one.
It does feel a little bit like that. They are really going at it. I mean, I don't know when did Chery actually announce they were going to come here? Because I slept through that announcement, or the announcement was the thing I went to last week. Because they've suddenly appeared and they've got 25 dealers already. They've told me they want to get 120, which is not that far off. I think it's 25 showrooms that are ready to go right now. There's another X amount where they've agreed a partnership with people.
Are you allowed to talk about what the car's like, or is it under embargo?
I can talk about. I asked this question. It's under embargo until Monday, but I can talk about everything apart from how it drives.
Right.
How they drive. And do you know what? I actually don't think they're too bad. Put it this way, I drove there in my electric Peugeot, and in fairness, it was a very long way to Worcester or wherever the hell I went. But I would rather have left in one of the Cherries than drive back in the electric Peugeot.
I mean, that's saying something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that Peugeot you're driving is pretty crap. So
yeah, it has a few problems. Sorry if anyone from Peugeot is listening, but
they're probably not. So don't worry.
No, probably not. Anyway, I'm gonna introduce our guest now because I'm boring myself. So joining us this week from the YouTube channel Shifting Metal and of course the dealership Barrow Motors is Joe Betty. Joe, lovely to see you.
Very nice to see you. Good morning.
Good morning, Joe. Nice to see you. How are things?
Good.
A bit more relaxed?
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But yeah, not just yet. We're still sort of in winding down phase. There's a lot of accounts to close down, addresses to change, etc. So yeah, my stress levels are still quite high, but there's glimmers of hope of relaxing. I've had 2 weekends, which is novel. I've had 2 weekends now where I actually have 2 days off, which
lovely.
That Sunday after a Saturday off is the most bizarre feeling day I've ever had in my life. It's like, what why am I here? What am I doing? So, yeah, I'm quite stressed at the moment, to be completely honest with you. But we're getting there. We're making progress.
So for those people out there who haven't been following, which I'm sure everybody has anyway, you've obviously got an incredibly successful YouTube channel where you've been documenting the story of your used car dealership, haven't you? But you announced, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Maybe a little bit longer than that.
A few weeks ago, maybe 4 months. Yeah, something like that.
That you were shutting up shop. So I mean, just tell the story of. I mean, it's probably, let's start at the beginning because I mean I don't really know the start of how you started the business in the first place. So tell me a little bit about how that began and then how you've got to this decision.
Okay, crikey, I'll try and keep it a fairly short story. I'm a heating engineer by trade. We had a industrial unit that was full of heating supplies and things we'd collected over the years, and I started clearing that out, thinking we don't need this expense. I'm going to clear out, and sold off all the sort of new old stock type of stuff that we had. And I'm quite into motorbikes. So once I'd cleared the space, I was like, this is actually a lovely, nice, clear space. And I put some ramps in there and I started working on motorbikes. And I think then I decided, well, I could sell a few motorbikes while I'm doing this, in between doing the admin for my plumbing business, and started selling a few motorbikes. Long story short, decided that certainly where we are, that selling motorbikes wasn't really viable. You know, no one in our area is buying a motorcycle out of necessity. So we had a BCA just down the road, started buying cars, and the rest is history, really. They kind of quickly outgrew that site. Barrow Motors, as we know it, became available, and kind of threw my hat in the ring, and off we went. So been there since the end of 2019, really. Actually opened the doors February 2020 and then swiftly closed them again like a month or 2 later, because there was only 2 of us at the time. And yeah, we've been going ever since. Started documenting everything a few years ago on YouTube, something I wanted to do for a long time, but finally got around to it. And it's gone really, really well. And on, balancing everything up and weighing everything up, I've decided that actually I do think the motor industry, used car sales is just getting harder and harder, and I think crucially, just everything is so expensive. Even over the last 6 years I've been doing it, has got so ridiculously expensive that it's just been squeezed and squeezed. And actually, when I weighed it up, I was like, well, do you know what? Actually, by making content and some of the other businesses that I've kind of set up to service the motor trade, that's probably where my time deserves to go, and I kind of spreading myself too thin. And so that's why I really have decided to, while we're not closing Barrow Motors as a business, I've closed down the physical site where we were, and we're just going to run a leaner machine, not selling to the public. I think I've had my fill of that, to be quite honest. I would do some trading of cars and, try and, I suppose a way I explained it to someone the other day was, rather than having a car dealership and documenting what's going on, we're going to be having a YouTube channel that kind of has a car dealership on the back of it, in a sense. Everything will have videos at the forefront of the mind. Let's make this interesting for people to watch. And that's where we are, really. So, yeah, about a month ago, we sort of let everyone know. Today is actually the day I go and hand back the keys and the lease and surrender the lease and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, dawn of a new day, really.
How did it go down with the team when you had to sit down and tell them your decision? I mean, that must have been quite tough.
Yeah, some were quite understanding. I think maybe people were starting to get an idea of what was happening anyway. To be honest, without getting too many details, there's been some struggles and there's more reasons why, we made this decision. So I'm sure some people might have been expecting something coming. But at the end of the day, everyone's, was quite sort of, they've had a great time working there. It's been a nice environment. I think maybe they disagree, but I think I'm quite a laid back boss, and probably to a fault. I'm probably too laid back. I'm not quite, you almost need to be strict. Some people need that, don't they? You almost like you.
Yeah.
I did always describe it. You're a bit like if running my business. I'm a bit like a father figure. People get upset about things with each other, and you've got to bring them in the office and say, "Don't worry," give them a bit of reassurance, and things are all right again. But I think I probably made the mistake of kind of trying to be everyone's friend, and then being upset perhaps when things weren't quite going the way I wanted. So, yeah, I'm sure everyone was, disappointed. Definitely were, but understanding, and luckily there's absolutely tons of work out there. Everyone's crying out for all the kind of roles that we had, so everyone's kind of got themselves sorted, and I genuinely think everyone will be better for it and kind of in a better place, enjoying their job and their life a little bit more, because I take full responsibility, because I spread myself so thin. I wasn't there to be really the leader that I wanted to be. I kind of hoped that I could kind of say, this is the rules, this is how you do everything, and off you go. It's unrealistic. It doesn't really work that way. And I think under someone else's leadership, where they really are 100% on something, it'll be 10 times better for everyone. So
you've now made that big decision, and you can sort of look back at the industry in some ways. That kind of having that front of house. I mean, what do you think are the biggest problems? You've mentioned a couple there about the costs, but what do you think the biggest problems are for car dealers at the moment?
Well, I think customer expectations is definitely up there, and interpretation of the law. We don't really have a hard and fast set of rules, do we, for consumer rights? They're kind of all open to interpretation, and depending on the type of character you are, that can get really expensive, because I always wanted to try and sort everything for everyone. I never really wanted anyone thinking that I was a bad person. And it does happen, and sometimes you do have to be tough and just say, look, that's not covered under your warranty. It's been 18 months. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be covering your battery or whatever it is. And you might still get a bad review for it, which is incredibly unfair. And if you're like me and you don't really want, you want to keep your reputation up, that's really hard. So customer expectations are just untenable. It's very, very hard. You are kind of buying favor with customers in a sense. It's coming out of your bottom line. obviously the expenses of everything is just absolutely through the roof. My sort of advertising bill every month was £5,000 or more, and I don't know. I mean, it's quite a competitive, sort of saturated market, really.
Yeah.
It's always been quite a popular trade, but I feel like it's probably everyone listening to this, there'll be plenty of people saying, yeah, it's the fault of you sort of people putting it on YouTube and glamorizing it, because I certainly get those sorts of comments. And maybe, I like to think maybe I've given people the confidence to start it if they've always wanted to do it and now they're finally going to give it a go. But yeah, it is a heavily saturated market, and you've really, really got to stand out. Whether that be with your social media, whether that be with your customer service, the product you provide, the kind of levels of preparation. It's one of those businesses that is quite low barrier to entry. You just got to be able to buy a car or have a car, and then you can put one up for sale. But after that, it's slim margins that just get slimmer the bigger you get, and it's really competitive. It's tricky to stand out and actually grab your attention. You're either spending a lot of money, which means you're making no profit, or you're doing something different. So yeah.
Yes, it is hard, isn't it? But you've done built a very successful YouTube channel off the back of this, and I mean, you I think, was it this year you hit the 100,000 subscribers milestone, or was it?
Yeah, well, sort of the end of last year, so Christmas, sort of like New Year sort of thing. Yeah,
accelerated ever since, hasn't it? I mean, it's gone absolutely crazy for you. Tell me a little bit about the success of that YouTube channel and the work that goes into it, because I don't think people understand quite what you have to put in, the effort you have to put in for these productions.
Yeah, well, so yeah, it has grown exponentially. It did start off with me just filming myself, like, oh look, I've bought a cheap Porsche Boxster in for 1,500 quid because it's on 200,000 miles, and they were terrible and wind noise everywhere. But it's something I always wanted to do, and I think the reason I started doing YouTube was I think the motor trade's really interesting. Buying and selling cars for me is really exciting. If you get to do this as a job, that's amazing. You get to try lots of different cars, and people like to live vicariously through other people, don't they? If there was more people doing that online, I would have loved to sit there and watch it. So I started doing that, and even though they did take quite a while to kind of get off the ground to start with, kept going because I knew I enjoyed it. I enjoyed making them. And eventually it was making some money, and as soon as it was making enough money that I thought I can hire someone to help film and edit these, I did that. And yeah, we've never really looked back since then. We're just able to put more and more content out, because I'd be in the garage fending off phone calls trying to edit a video when I should be buying stock, and I should have been dealing with all sorts. And there I am trying to edit a video, or I was doing it through the evening and just destroying relationships and whatever. So yeah, that takes a lot of work. We've now got 2 full-time videographer editors editing stuff. We've got multiple channels. We've taken a little break for a little while, so that's a bit nerve-wracking, but we're getting back into it now. It does take a lot of time, and I mean, one of our sort of things I guess we kind of pioneered in the motor trade was our weekly video. I was like, I think it'd be interesting if we just filmed something from every day and put it together at the end of the week, and you kind of get to do see everything that happens in a garage. And again, that was me filming those to start off with and editing them all. But it almost got harder work when it was cameramen wandering around filming everyone, editing it, because then I've got to sit there for an hour at least once or twice and watch through my work week again, which is a bit of a busman's holiday, and say, well, you can't leave that in, and I'm swearing there, and or whatever this. And yeah, it does take a lot of work, a lot more than you think, really. I think most people who've tried it realize that. So you've got to really enjoy it, and I guess some people don't. I guess they hate sort of the editing side of things. It's so time consuming. You can spend, I mean, the editors here might spend a day or two editing one video that's going to be 20 minutes long. So yeah, it is a lot of work. So again, it's a bit like the car sales. You've either got to be, not saying I am really good, but you've got to kind of have it dialed in. I think it's easier for me to have YouTube and interesting content dialed in than it is car sales. to be honest.
Have you always been the creative type? Because you really have to think about what you're going to be producing, don't you, with these videos? And one of the things I think you're brilliant at is coming up with the titles for these videos that they really perform. There feels to me watching on that there's a bit of a journalist in you. You're quite good at writing those headlines.
Yeah, I feel like we need a little WhatsApp group between us where we could be like, if you were putting this in the car dealer magazine, what would your title be? Because you do have to. I'm sure lots of other people, but I call it like the packaging, the thumbnail and the title. And for me, they're the most important thing. It completely change a video, whether it's good or bad. And sometimes I see other people starting this, and you look at their thumbnail and title, and you think, oh, I kind of want to reach out and say, come on, we can do this differently. Yes, so I have always been creative in a sense. I've always liked, hence why I started with the motorbikes. I used to customize. In fact, that motorbike behind me, I don't know if you can see it very well, but is something that started out as literally kind of like a pile of rust in a barn, and I converted it myself, welded everything up. I'm quite hands-on. I like doing stuff like that. And I like, at the end of the day, being able to sit back and see something that I've created. So it's probably why being a plumber or heating engineer never really did it for me. I mean, you can see you've put a boiler on the wall, but you can't like hop in it and drive it home and enjoy it. It's just putting hot water around a house. So yeah, there's definitely a trick to it. I think it's a skill you can learn, but it's a dark art as well. 100%. I mean, as you know, I've had videos before that have absolutely tanked and not really done any views, and I thought, I'll tweak this. You change one word in the title, and you can watch the chart for the views, and it just spikes and goes through the roof. It might be one of your best ever. So,
it's not dissimilar from putting pictures up on Auto Trader. The car doesn't get any inquiries. Go and take new pictures in a different location. Change the 3, whatever they're called, little
attention grabbers, John.
Thank you. I can never remember that for some reason. Hasn't grabbed my attention, the name of those particular things. But you change those, and then suddenly it's gone in 3 days. So it's weird, isn't it? It's almost like a psychological thing of what grabs attention.
I have a theory. There is definitely a psychological thing. If someone's scrolling through cars on Auto Trader, or they're scrolling through videos on YouTube, and they've already once seen your picture, your main picture for your car, or they've seen your thumbnail for your video, and they've already like gone, oh, maybe I'd watch that, maybe, and they've dismissed it and they've gone past it. If they see it again, they've already made that choice, so they'll just keep doing it. Whereas if you change it, it's still going to be the same video, the same car, but they might just catch them in a slightly different way, and they'll be like, oh, that looks new, and they'll click on it, and then you're away. So yeah,
it's these little tweaks, isn't it, that you're constantly trying to work out how they're gonna perform. Joe, tell me a little bit about some of those cars that you've bought over the years. Then I'm always interested to hear the cars that dealers would never buy again. I mean, have you had any that have just? I mean, for me, Mazda CX-5 diesel, never again. What about for you?
You absolutely would buy another one, James, and I'm waiting for it to happen.
No way. I promise. I pledge now on this podcast I won't do it again.
Is that the 2.2
diesel? Yes.
Yeah. They're not very good. I've had a few issues with those. I definitely wouldn't buy. Do you know what? I'm eating my words here, aren't I? But I would never buy Ingenium JLR products again.
What, you mean the one you tried to buy for us?
We don't. I thought we were talking about me here. Yeah, I think I just had a really good run of good luck with them, which ran out. And they might have like minor issues, but they just have so many minor issues, EGRs, DPFs. You end up living with the customers that you sell these cars to for so long that, I wouldn't have another one of those. I wouldn't buy a 1.2 PureTech engine car. Again, same sort of problems, timing chain problems. Those cars tend to, like, routinely, as almost part of the service schedule, have new engines at about 50,000 miles. It's almost just, you can kind of guarantee that's what's happening. So I did a video once where I bought one and it had an engine replacement, but it just wouldn't run right and it would bring up engine problems. And essentially what it was, there was a slight variation between these engines, depending on the color of the dipstick. Would tell you whether that engine would work with that ECU or not. And someone obviously done an exchange on it, and then chucked it through the auction, and I bought it, and I needed a blue dipstick, and I had a red one or something, and just headaches that you could do. These modern cars, they're just, I guess it's the emissions, all that sort of stuff, but they're rubbish. They're rubbish.
What I find so frustrating about this is, like, particularly with things like the Ingenium and the PureTechs and the EcoBoosts and whatever, us journalists go along to all these launches and hear, oh yes, this is look at all the engineering we've done on this fantastic new engine. It's so efficient or whatever. I feel like this is a uniquely car thing, that all these wonderful products come out, like that CX-5 2.2 diesel. When we first drove one of those, we thought, this is an amazing diesel engine 10 years ago, and now they're like chocolate. I don't feel like in any other industry that's the case. I don't feel like with laptops or boilers, I don't feel like Worcester Bosch brings out a new boiler that's all 98% efficient or something, and then 5 years later you go, oh no, actually, turns out it's a crock of absolute like, why is it car manufacturers can't do it properly? It baffles me. I've had a slight rant there, but I'm basically asking, is it the same in your heating business? Do you just go, oh, you put in a boiler from whoever it is, and you go, that'll be fine for 10 years or 20? Do you not really worry about it quite so much?
Definitely not as much. I mean, everyone's under scrutiny, I guess, aren't they, to be more efficient and kind to the planet? But I think no one more than cars, and I think which forces them to do these weird and wonderful things. Although, does it force them? Because there's plenty of manufacturers who don't do these weird and wonderful new things. But yeah, I mean, you get the odd thing, I suppose. But a thing with like a phone, for example, I remember things where you get like an iPhone, and for a while they were like burning people's faces because they'd get so hot or something. And they did you can't do an update on a car to change the timing chain, can you? Even remotely. Once you've put them, I don't know, are they not stress testing them enough, or I don't know. And also, really, in a sense, I'll probably get a lot of flack for saying this, but really, cars, their life term really is meant to be like the warranty age, isn't it? Really, that's what the warranty, the manufacturer saying, yeah, give us £30,000 for this car, we'll give you, even if it's up to 7 years warranty these days. But that's what they consider the lifespan of that. So after that, it's like end of life for that car. It might go on for 30 years, but that's it. Whereas if you had an iPhone and it was 15 years old and you were like, God, the battery only lasts like half as long as it used to, they'd be like, well, what do you expect? It's a phone. You're like, yeah, you're right, I'll get a new one. Whereas I don't think not quite as much translates to cars with that.
Now you've made this decision to call it a day with the dealership. I mean, do you think, have other dealers reached out to you to say they're thinking about doing the same? Do you think there's going to be other people that are going to follow suit?
Lots. Surprised me. I thought a few things surprised me. I thought the sort of audience would turn on me a little bit, which some have. You can expect that. They're like, oh, I followed because of the garage, and I don't want to watch anymore or whatever. But mostly have been really supportive, and you got to look after your health, you got to look after yourself, and the amount of other dealers who are either imminently planning to do the same, or it's a goal to get to a point where they can close up their car sales operation, has surprised me. And some sort of big social media names as well. I've been literally, I got, from doing YouTube, you collaborate with people, you get a few numbers, and I had some messages come through, and I was expecting them to be like, oh, I'm really sorry to hear it or whatever. And it wasn't at all. It was like, just seen your video where you've closed down. I want to do the same thing. And we just talked back and forth about it and kind of just did a bit of reasoning with each other. And then it's like, that's decided it for me. I'm doing it. And, so yeah, at least a handful of people that I know that are probably have got some kind of presence on social media, are winding things down at least. So it's quite funny because in the comments of videos you'll get, oh, so-and-so would never do this. You should have followed that person's operation system and you'd still be going. Or you'd get someone saying, do a collaboration with someone else and they'd be like, oh, you'll be ending up where Joe is in 12 months. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's their plan. That's what they want to do. It's not an insult, but thank you.
I don't think these people watching, I don't think a lot of people realise quite how difficult it is to do to run a dealership. I mean, even on our tiny scale, I've found it incredibly stressful at times. It takes over your life. It's all encompassing. It's all hours of the day and weekends. And if you've got families and other businesses or other things to do, it's very, very hard to fit it in. And I think one of the things, and you've touched on it there, that I've found a challenge to is customer expectations. You're selling used cars, and some of them will have problems, and we try our best to make sure we eradicate them. But sometimes they do have issues. But it's the attitude that they come back with, or the attitude they start with when they come to visit you in the first place. I mean, I told the story in the podcast before. One guy who turned up at the dealership, he just treated me like a piece of dirt on his shoe. It was absolutely horrendous, and that gets you down, doesn't it? It does become a challenge.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think the last time I came on here, we sort of talked about the fact that one of the things I could never wrap my head around, I can kind of understand it, but if you sell someone a car and maybe 2 months down the line, a TPMS light comes on or something, or say there's an even bigger problem. There's a problem with the engine management lights come on, and the customer will phone you, but rather than being like, hi, just to let you know I'm having a bit of an issue, is it okay if I bring it in? They're straight on the attack.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's because they think you're going to give them some resistance because they think you're Arthur Daly or whatever it is, or they feel like they've been conned somehow. And everyone's so emotional about their car, I think, because it's such a big purchase for them. Though strangely, it doesn't really seem to happen in the same way with houses, as far as I've ever experienced. But with cars, it does. And they're right on the attack of you, which puts you on the back foot. And then you just instantly, you hate this person, You would have been like, look, yes, this is why you bought it from a car dealership. This is why you've got a warranty. I'm really sorry you're having an issue, but let's figure out how we can solve this for you. That's what we're here for. That's why you paid a premium to buy from a car dealer. But by this time, they might have personally insulted you and said, I knew you were a crook, and you and so were, I knew. And you just think, whoa, where's this coming from? You were lovely as pie a minute ago. And yeah, it just, I mean, if that sort of thing winds you up, don't do YouTube, because that'll wind you up even more with the comments that you get, because they're even more delusional. But
what advice would you have for people thinking of starting out in the motor trade, having been there, done it, and shut the shop?
Well, just consider everything very carefully. I used to get phone calls at the garage, people saying, "Oh, I really want to set up a car dealership. I found a unit for £1,500 a month, and I can borrow some money and get some cars. But if I really wanted to do it, I'd have to be giving up my £70,000 a year train job or something." I'm like, just do not do it. Don't ever, please. Do it as a little hobby on the side if you want. Weekends and evenings, get a feel for it. And what I would say is, a lesson I've learned is definitely like as lean and mean as possible, because your profits get swallowed up. We were turning over sort of a good few million a year, but it whittled down to practically bugger all. And if you're poor on time, you try and buy it back one way or another, and it's never as efficient as being able to do it yourself or have the time yourself. So I don't, just consider it very carefully. I'm not sure now is the time. I think it's had its golden age, and there'll be another golden age, unless you've got something that's a bit new and clever, and you've got a different take on things, which I really hope you have. Just getting in, it's a really rudimentary kind of basic business model, isn't it? Really, You buy a used product, you hope it's okay, you fix it up as best you can within a sensible budget, so that you've got a sensible used car to sell. Then you sell it to someone, and then you're on the hook for 3 to 6 months, and try and save some money at the end of it while, the stress levels are through the roof. You're getting insulted. It's putting you in a bad mood when you're with your family and all that sort of stuff. You really kind of these are the sort of conversations I was having with myself when I was thinking about closing the doors. You think, it's not, you've got, as I keep saying, I'm probably sound like a broken record, you've got to be doing something different or special. I think it could be a great job. But as scaling it into a business, you've got to be really, really good. You've got to be a really good business person, and I'm clearly not.
Well, I don't know about that. You've got quite a few of them. You've got quite a few businesses, Joe. Tell us a little bit about what's happening next. Then what's next on the agenda for you?
I was waiting for this bit of I can do my shameless self promotion.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, the main focus is just making us the best kind of videos that we can and having the time to do them, because I really enjoy making the videos, buying interesting cars, fixing them up, that sort of thing. We're then if we're buying cars, we need an avenue out of them. So for a long time, since about the original lockdown, I've had carsboughtformore.com. So that was because we get offered so many cars being on YouTube, far more than I could ever buy. We set up a platform where other dealers can buy them. So you can get a free dealer account. You can go on there, you can look at those cars. And if you want to trade cars amongst yourselves in the trade, you can do that as well. So we've got that going. I run a competitions business now, which we're trying to sort of grow, which has got a huge sort of charity element. In fact, I started that probably 18 months ago when there was I'd heard the story of a local lad who had a really rare form of cancer, and he could get as much NHS treatment as was available. But in America, there's a vaccine, believe it or not, which is pretty much your only hope of this not returning. And it is about £250,000. So over the last sort of 12 months, having set this business up intentionally for that, we've raised, I think, £27,500 for him. We've just finished another competition last night that's raised, well, we've helped them hit they ended up going to 300,000. We've helped them hit their target. And another one last night where we did sort of £1,500 donation to another charity. So I think that and the videos are my top two things. I get a real good feeling out of helping these people and being able to buy interesting cars and let people win them, and someone's really excited about winning them. And we've also just launched a sort of car history checking thing, which is called carbackground.co.uk. So basically lots of bolt-on bits around the YouTube. That's the main focus, is doing interesting content that people enjoy, listening to what people whether it's the technical, working on the cars, giving you the whole process. We're getting a lot of wheeler dealer comments. Mike Brewer's going to be opening a lawsuit against me soon. People are saying, you like the new wheeler dealers? Because we got Ben, the mechanic, here, and he can kind of do all the mechanical work, and he's very methodical. I'm buying the stupid cars, which make it interesting. And
I've heard that format sounds slightly familiar.
Yeah. It came to me in a dream. I don't know. It wasn't intentional, I swear. It's just, I guess that's if you've got two people doing cars, it kind of ends up like that.
Yeah.
So that's it really.
Well,
focusing on the YouTube.
Wish you the best of luck with it, Joe. Fair play to you for all of those endeavours, especially the charity one. And thank you for coming on and telling us all about it. It's been lovely to see you. But we probably should do some stories if you're up for hanging around for those.
Absolutely. Yes, no problem. I'll stop talking.
Very nice to see you. Thank you. We interrupt this broadcast for some breaking news. John, I don't want to panic you, but the Car Dealer Podcast Live is coming round really rather fast.
Yes, I know that, James, because I own a calendar. But clearly you've been not paying attention.
How dare you, John? If I hadn't been paying attention, how would I know that it's on the September the 24th in Abingdon that we've got the Polestar boss, Matt Galvin, Vicky Hart from Waylands, and Alex Bradley from Small Cars Direct on with us,
Well, technically it's closer to Didcot, but I'll let that one go. Anyway, I bet you've forgotten how people can book tickets.
No, John, because on my script right here, it says head to cardealermagazine.co.uk/podcast, and people listening to this can book tickets with the special discount code PICANTO for 10% off. There's a social barbecue after the recording and plenty of time for a social catch-up with other like-minded dealers. We look forward to seeing you there. This is a paid partnership in association with Dealerway. John, guess what?
Oh, God, you've bought more ducks, haven't you?
No ducks, John. Wrong there. I've actually got a new habit. I've signed up for Dealerway alongside more than 2,500 other rated and vetted car dealers to sell my trade part exchanges. The site is designed for dealers to sell their part exchanges for more money, quickly and easily. There's no seller's fees, and buying a car costs just £99, one of the cheapest around. And when I haven't got the time to list a car myself, I can even WhatsApp them the details and they do it all for me.
That sounds awfully familiar. So are you selling all your stock there now?
Not exactly, John. But if I do have a sudden influx of Kia Picantos, I know where to send them. Dealers can find out more at dealerway.co.uk. We'll be right back. Now, John, I'm really enjoying how easy it is to pay sellers on Carwow.
I mean, presume you'd rather not pay them at all.
No, that is true. But now I can do it with Carwow Wallet. You can pay sellers, finance houses, and more instantly, literally in one click. It's secure, easy to use, and gets rid of all the pesky finance back and forth. It's a total game changer, John.
That does sound pretty good.
If you want to find out more, dealers can log on to carwow.co.uk/partners/carwow-wallet. Now, back to the podcast.
So, James and I are going to run through our favourite stories of the week, and at the end, Joe gets to decide which one of us chose the best ones and who's the winner. James is on a very unfortunate winning streak, so he's going to go first.
3-1. Just a little reminder for you there, John, at the start. What a week it's been of news. Some really interesting stories. It's quite hard to pick between them, actually. But I think I'm going to go for the one that I think is the biggest story of the week, and that is this JLR cyber attack. It started off at the weekend with the news broke, I think, on Monday, possibly Tuesday, that what day was the first? First was Monday, wasn't it? Because it was new registration day, and news came out that dealers couldn't register any new cars for the 75 plate, these JLR dealers, due to problems with their systems. Over the course of the week, this has escalated and escalated. It looks like there has been quite a serious cyber attack of JLR. There's a couple of cyber terrorists. Is that what we call them, John? You're very techie. What was
whatever you chose to call them, James? Sure.
Cyber crims. There's a few cyber crims out there talking about the fact that they've done it. One called Scattered Spider. You part of them, John?
No, I'm a bit more scatter cushion, I would say. That'll be mine.
Brilliant. There's another one called Lapsus Dollar, and another one called Shiny Hunters. These are the cyber terrorists that have gone out and allegedly boasted of on Telegram, that app that often gets talked about, but nobody knows how to download. Boasting about the fact that they have hacked JLR's internal systems, but it has got incredibly serious. I'm making light of a very serious story here. Their production facilities in the UK have all shut down this week. Apparently their teams were told on Monday to go home. All of the factory staff were told to go home, and they're still not back now. So
I didn't realise it's still not back because I've not kept track of this. So there was calendars. It's now Friday, isn't it?
It's now Friday. Update on this.
5 days, no production.
No production, John, which is, as you can imagine, incredibly serious for that manufacturer. They've been hit by a number of headwinds already this year, haven't they? We've had Trump tariffs. We've had other issues that they've had to deal with, which has caused them problems. They were just sort of bouncing back from that. We've reported some decent profits from them, and now they're hit with this. And I just think this is a lot bigger than we know. They're not talking about it. Obviously, they keep issuing the same statement to the press, which is a very vanilla one, that there've been an attack and they're looking into it. But I think there is probably panic stations at that manufacturer at the moment. You only have to look at the damage these cyber criminals did to M&S this year. That cyber attack is rumoured to have cost M&S £300 million. JLR is a massive company. I mean, what is a week's worth of lost production going to cost them? I mean, that is going to be incredibly serious. It's going to be large sums of money. And I think this is a story that's going to rumble on and on. We've seen cyber attacks before on other manufacturers. Honda was hit, wasn't it, in the States a couple of years ago. We've obviously had dealers attacked too, with Arnold Clark and all of the problems that caused them. But this is the first time we've seen it happen to a UK manufacturer. And I think JLR are in trouble, John.
Shall I tell you something very interesting about this?
Please.
In 2023, JLR outsourced its IT to a company called Tata Consultancy Solutions. You will never guess who M&S also in 2023 outsourced its IT systems to. and I believe the co-op. I mean, in fairness,
Really?
yeah.
Is this something you found out on the dark web, or have you read a news story that I haven't found?
I did this thing called Googling it, James, and it just struck in my head because I was speaking a few months ago to somebody I know who works in IT for, let's say, a fashion brand that may or may not be to do with playing sport on horses, and he was telling me how, because he's moved from different companies to different companies, worked for supermarkets, whatever, and the constant thing is outsourcing IT to other bits of the world, or just outsourcing IT in general is the problem, because consultancy firms don't quite necessarily care as much necessarily about all these sorts of things, and it can get a little bit lax, and it's saving money at the end of the day, isn't it? And it's just the fact that this was the same company, and I know Tata owns JLR, so it's sort of natural, and Tata Consultancy does do the IT consultancy for so many different companies that aren't related to JLR or M&S or whatever, that maybe it's just a coincidence. But there were questions about whether lax security at that particular firm had led to the M&S and co-op situations, and I wouldn't be hugely surprised if it was also the case for JLR.
Allegedly, claim to source, etc., etc. Yeah.
Yes, I haven't given Tata Consultancy right of reply on that one, but I'll jot them a quick email and they'll be ready for the next
please
podcast.
do. We'll say we contacted them for comment. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. What did you think of this one, Joe? I mean, I don't know if you've been following it, but this week, every day, there's a different story that comes out that it seems more and more serious.
Well, it's terrifying, isn't it? Like you say, the cost involved with that is just, terrifying figures. Like you say, it's not good news, is it? They're not really on a winning streak at the moment, are they, JLR?
No. I do feel like they get kicking them when they're down.
The good news is Jaguar have not been affected by this at all.
They're not.
They've not registered any cars this month, but then they don't have any to register. So
maybe the cyber attackers all have Ingenium engined cars, and they're just trying to get their own back. Well, John, move us on. Come on, your go.
Okay, I'm going to talk about one of your stories, which I'm sorry, I'm going to breeze through this because I'm very bored of talking about the electric car grants, because we talk about it every month, and you get on your high horse about how it's a shambles, etc.
How dare you?
I'm not wrong though.
No, not wrong.
But this is helpfully what you've done, James, is done a bit of investigation, and you've wrapped it all up into one story so that we never have to talk about it ever again, because you've researched. Every week we go, some new cars have been announced for the grant. Oh, isn't it terrible that none of them are the full amount? Well, you've done a bit of research along with Tom Barnard of electrifying.com to see just which manufacturers have actually applied for the grant, which ones have been told they're not eligible, and which ones are likely or think they're likely to be eligible for the full £3,750 top grant. And the answer is 6 cars are likely to be eligible for the top grant. 2 of which are on sale, which we know about, which are the 2 Fords, the Puma and the Transit Courier Custom Connect something or other, Tornado.
Other words, yeah.
Which most people have never heard of. The Nissan Leaf, as we've talked about, Nissan are confident and hopeful that it will be approved, but of course it doesn't actually exist yet, hasn't been put on sale. The other 3 are some Stellantis cars, so the Citroën C5 Aircross Long Range, specifically the long range version, again, not on sale. Same for the Grandland, which is kind of the same car, and also the Vauxhall Frontera, which is a much smaller, much cheaper EV SUV thing. Again, they're all we've got here is possible, but not on sale yet. That's it. That's your lot. And slightly more troubling. Well, I mean, that's troubling in itself. Those are the only ones that are going to get the full whack. But also, the list of car companies that are not eligible for the grant at all, or have not actually bothered to fill in the forms and apply, is slightly curious / concerning. So, for example, Kia have not applied for the grant. Don't quite understand why. Because they've got a handful of... Go on.
I think it's their plants. I think they know they're just not going to get approval. I think the power grid in South Korea where they're made is not entirely green. I think it's a lot. It's coal. A lot of it is coal powered. Very very similar to China, which means that they probably wouldn't get it.
And yet, the Ford Puma, whose batteries, as I understand it, come from South Korea.
Romanian.
Yeah, but the cells come from somewhere, don't they? It depends how far they're drilling down. I think, as far as I'm aware, the batteries come from South Korea in the Puma. I could be completely wrong. But anyway. So Kia haven't applied, Audi haven't applied, but they haven't got any cars under 75 grand. Fiat, I found really strange, not eligible. Why is Fiat not eligible, James?
No idea.
Bearing in mind that the 500e is made in Italy, its batteries are made in Italy or Hungary. I don't really completely understand why that's not allowed.
This is why it's so confusing, because it's not just simply a case of where the car's made; it's where the batteries are made, which is apparently makes up a very large percentage of what tier it goes into. But then the other bit is how's the electricity produced in that country? So you have to have like the moons aligning to get this grant. It's very very difficult.
Well, and it gets even more complicated than that, doesn't it? Because when we were publishing this, I had a flick through it and sort of raised, well, if the Vauxhall Frontera, for example, is ending up in this grant, getting the full whack, why isn't the very similar Citroen C3 Aircross not getting it? And why is the same with the C5 Aircross? That's fundamentally the same car underneath as Peugeot E5008, for example, long range. That's not included because the factories, they're both made in France. The two factories in France, one is more green than the other. So one has got some solar panels on the roof or something. And that means it's eligible for the full whack and the other one isn't. So it's so granular, this.
It is. And I think that's the problem. And that's why I wanted to do this investigation, because we've talked about it, as you've said, many times on the podcast. And we were sort of guessing, weren't we, how many cars we thought would be eligible for this top rate. The problem is you go out and tell consumers it's a £3,750 discount off your electric car. That's what they're expecting. They don't understand. None of them are going to do this sort of research. None of them are going to look into it. They're just going to turn up at a dealer and say, where's my £3,750 off, please? And when they get told no, it doesn't look good on the dealer. That's the problem. It looks like the dealer is holding it back. What they need to say is actually, sorry, it's the government and the way they've put together this grant, etc., etc. I just think it's ridiculously complicated. I don't think the government realised they'd only have 6 cars eligible for this top tier grant. I don't think they had any idea of how many cars were going to be eligible at all. And it's, I applaud the government for doing something. We've been banging on about it for ages. We need some help, but this one is just overly complicated. It's caused too much hassle, and it's causing problems in showrooms, and that's why I do keep on getting on my high horse about it, because it's annoying. It should have been simple. It should have been a simple VAT rate cut for all electric cars and do what they wanted to do, which was sell more electric cars. Whereas, unfortunately, it's turned into this manufacturer kicking issue where if your plants aren't green enough, or your electric cars aren't quite green enough, you don't get the grant. Well, it sends out the wrong message, in my opinion.
So I asked Cherry about this at the event last week, and it was a very firm no comment.
Was it?
Yeah. I said, are you disappointed that you're not included?
They then remove you from the launch.
It felt a bit like that. But no, we have not commented on this. Just no comment. There you go. But I don't think the Chinese brands care at all. I think they've got so much margin in their cars, and all this has done is exclude some European car manufacturers and Korean car manufacturers, almost by accident, is what it feels like.
Yeah.
What did you think? Words.
What did you think, Joe?
Well, I have to say I am just blissfully ignorant to all of this. Luckily, it sounds like a headache. I mean,
we talk about it every week. I mean, it's just for the last 6 weeks we've talked about it, Joe. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's easy to tune out, John. What can I say? It is a headache, isn't it? And it's just, I gotta say, I feel like the whole new car market and the whole EV market, everything is all just a bit depressing. But yeah, I'm blissfully ignorant to it all. It sounds like a headache, but I'm glad I'm not worrying about it at the moment.
Stick with that. It's probably a lot easier than having to speak to every single manufacturer in the UK, as I had to do, unfortunately. Shall I move us on? Okay, I've got a couple of stories that I could pick from, but I think I'm going to go with the Auto Trader story, because this is a little bit of
Auto Trader story.
Yes, sorry, John. Let me explain. So, Auto Trader is changing the way that they email dealers with their lead notifications. So, up until as it stands currently, if you get a lead from Auto Trader as a dealer, you get an email saying you have a new lead, which we all get very excited about, and it has the customer's name, telephone number if they've input it, email if they've input it, and a message normally says, "Can I come and test drive your car, please?" And then you'd respond to it. So what that arrives in your inbox, and for us, we use DealerKit, and it arrives into our DMS, and we get a notification, and we reply via the DMS system. There's a lot of dealers out there that don't operate their businesses with a DMS. They operate just via email. So when those emails arrive, they reply directly to them. Auto Trader is having to change the way that is done. And what they're doing is they're removing the contact details from these emails. So you'll just be told you've got a new lead on X car. And those customers that don't have a DMS will have to go onto the Auto Trader portal, which means logging into a separate platform, and then they can reply from there. This has, it sounds like it's a bit of a storm in the teacup, but there's a lot of dealers, Joe will know because he speaks to lots of them too, who were quite cheesed off about this. They were cheesed off because they don't want to log into another system. If you're a dealer, I think we explained we had something like 12 platforms that we have to log into when it comes to selling a car. It's a pain in the arse because you have to remember all of your different passwords. It is complicated enough as it is. You don't want to be logging into something else. Auto Traders say this is vital. They have to do it to protect the customer data. It's something that is easily leakable into an email system. So if it goes into a DMS where it's pulled down via an API, I'm saying words I don't really understand. But yeah, if it goes into a DMS system, it's a lot more secure, and those leads will continue working. So if you use someone like DealerKit or other DMSs and ingest those leads from Auto Trader and you reply via DMS, no change whatsoever. But if you're one of those dealers who rely on the emails, and Umesh Samani, chairman of the IMDA, Independent Motor Dealers Association, told us he was one of those people. He does it this way. And he said it was a big hot topic on his members forum. They've got a forum that 2,500 odd independent dealers. There's lots of them that are not happy with these changes. Auto Trader, on the other hand, have told me at length it's vital that they have to do this. It's a way of protecting the customer data. But at the same time, you've got these dealers who are having to change their processes. It sounds like a small thing, and there'll be lots of dealers out there listening to us who this doesn't apply to. But there are equally a large number of dealers where it does apply to them. And it's going to mean it's going to be a bit slower to respond to emails. So yeah, it's a bit of a complicated one, John, but it's the sort of thing that when Auto Trader changes something, it makes a massive difference to workflows of dealers out there. And I can understand why they have, and I completely understand why they needed to. But there are dealers out there that are going to have to change the way they work. And that has frustrated them. Joe, let me ask you the question, because, you've probably heard the same things I have.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, my Auto Trader subscription ended today. But yeah, it seems like a bit of a non-issue, doesn't it, in a sense? But to some. But I think when Auto Trader does anything, which is usually putting the prices up and changing something that dealers aren't happy with, it always feels like they're taking something away and putting the prices up. I understand why dealers are going to be annoyed. I can understand. It's a bit like when you're trying to buy a car, same as selling a car. It's that customer may have sent out 5 or 6 inquiries to whoever dealers, and I genuinely believe it's like quickest trigger wins sort of thing. So there'll be people who get an email, it'll pop up on their phone, they'll highlight the phone number and call it straight away. Whereas now they've got to log into an app. Which, let's face it, if you've got to log into the portal app and you've got to highlight which of these pictures has got a bridge in it, and do all that sort of stuff, which it makes you go around about 3 cycles of each time, and then sends you a code and drives you mad. It is frustrating, but as with everything that Auto Trader does, where they sort of remove a feature that dealers like and dealers complain that they haven't really listened to dealers, we'll have to get used to it.
That is the one thing I wish Auto Trader would change, is that those stupid pictures that come up saying identify the bike, or like you say, identify the bridge, or identify the bus. And even if you click all the tiles, it never works, does it? And you end up getting another one and another one and another one. I've wasted a lot of my life clicking images of bikes from Thailand or something.
I've got a top tip for you, James, with those specifically for Auto Trader, because it says, we need to verify if you're a human, and it asks you to click on the motorcycle, and it might be, if there's like a slither of a motorbike handle in the thing, don't click it. It almost expects you to be half blind and miss a few things. So if you're too perfect, it thinks you're a robot.
And
so
if it's quick,
wrong.
You need to just be a bit more useless with it, which is where I've been excellent. But you need to not be quite so efficient, and it works better. It doesn't make you do like 3 loops of it, which drives me crazy.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's going to save me a lot of time. John,
if any developers from Auto Trader are listening and they'd like to re-implement a different recapture solution, there are other providers that don't use bikes, stairs, and traffic lights.
Stairs. It's always stairs.
So do get in touch.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of changing that. Shall I move us on?
Yeah, move us on.
I can't believe you've not talked about GVE.
Well, there was a lot of good stories this week.
Okay, well, I'll end on a low point, which is that supercar dealer GVE London has appointed administrators as they're facing a rather uncertain future. Now, James and I did disappear off to GVE a year ago. And then a mere 4 or 5 weeks ago, actually got around to editing the video of it. So we visited their showroom, lots of interesting metal in there, and they're an interesting business because they, controversially, if you're a supercar dealer, you get a lot of flack if you are not buying the stock, but you've got it on sale or return, i.e. lots of the stuff in their showroom wasn't owned by them. It was owned by customers or other businesses, what have you, who had said, do you know what, pop it in there, put whatever price you think it will sell at, and when it sells, you give me the profit. So it's a very lean way of running your supercar dealership rather than having to fork out 250 grand for each Lamborghini that's sat in there. But it doesn't seem to be a business model that's worked terribly well, and I can sort of imagine why. Because I'm preaching to the choir. No one listening is. There's a reason that the motor trade works in the way that it does, rather than saying to your customers, I'll put your Yaris on my forecourt for 6 months and see if it sells. Because it just wouldn't function. The customer would want too much money for it. It would be up at too high a price. It would just falter and stop working. That's my personal opinion of sale or return. Anyway, this has been a big story all over social media, which is why I'm bringing it up. And that's partially because GVE were all over social media, particularly if you were, and YouTube, if you were in the kind of circles of seeing lots of supercar influencers and YouTube channels and so on, you'll probably have come across GVE, and they've all come out and talked about the situation that's been going on there. And it's not been a very orderly process of going into administration, has it? There's been lots of question marks as to what's happening at GVE, and unfortunately, the poor people at GVE have had to deal with quite a lot of flack in the process of this. George, who we spoke to at the dealership in our video, he's had a pretty horrible time. He's suggested that his people have been contacting his mum, all these sorts of things. Did I hear death threats? Is that a thing that's happened?
Yeah,
James?
no, that happened. Yeah,
you can pretty much assume anyone on the internet's getting death threats, unfortunately, these days. So it's all been quite unpleasant, but it's also been a difficult situation for those customers who've got their cars in that showroom on sale or return. Because, of course, if my 250 grand supercar is sat in a dealership in Uxbridge or wherever it is, and you hear that dealership is going into administration and the doors are going to be locked or whatever, it's panic stations, isn't it? Yeah. So it's been a bit of a wild topic. Tom Hartley's got involved on social media, suggesting that perhaps, I'm going to put this delicately, suggesting that their business model was perhaps not the one to go for.
Very well done, John. Very well done.
I mean, what did you make of this story, James? Were you surprised?
I was surprised because it came out on Friday night, I think, which meant I ended up ruining my Friday night when I was supposed to be enjoying my dinner and ended up writing the story. But I'm glad I did because it was one of those stories that just absolutely exploded on our website because obviously there were a lot of people out there looking into what was happening. They first posted a notice to appoint administrators with the High Court, which is it's basically a way of protecting your business for a period of about 10 days to try and make sure that you are covered with creditors. They said that they were negotiating with an investor who was going to come in and help out. That obviously hasn't worked out because they have appointed those administrators today. I saw a lot of videos online. There was a big thing between Yanni, the influencer, and GVE. I think they had some beef. I think possibly.
Unlike you that evening.
Very good, John. Thank you. They so that sort of blew up on social media. I think he did a few reels, and there was like 2 million views of them within 24 hours. I mean, they went absolutely crazy. And then I started seeing some other videos of some of these people who had cars in this dealership, because I don't actually know what happens to cars on sale or return when a business goes into administration. If the doors get closed, do those cars become part of the administration? I mean, they're obviously.
I wouldn't imagine so. It'd be a bit like if I would guess, and I'm not at all an expert on this, which is why I host this podcast. But I would imagine it'd be a bit like, James, if we over at Car Dealer Towers leased a Ford Focus or something, and then we went into administration, that car is not owned by us; it's owned by a lease company, and similar sort of deal, isn't it? Or if you had them on stocking loans, Lloyd's Bank or whoever it is owns those cars. In this case, it's Yanni or whoever owns that.
Yeah.
Gallardo.
Well, I saw some of these videos I saw during the week was people breaking in. Who some of these car owners. There was a guy who posted like, I'm inside GVE, and he sort of scrolls round and there's hardly any cars in there. Just nothing like when we went, and the pictures that we've published on the website. Just a few odd supercars dotted around. And then there was another one. I think some of the pictures I saw on the Sun were of like police inside. So it's obviously got very serious. Very, very sad to see. But we'll have to wait to see what the administrator's report has to say and what's gone on.
The final thing I say about it is I think I mean, again, we don't know the situation, but it's the perils of the double-edged sword of being out there on social media and YouTube and so on. I mean, the two people talking to me here, I'm sure we'll see the other side of it. If you put yourself out there like that, if they were just I think any supercar dealer is probably going to have this sort of situation, particularly in the setup that they had with sale or return. But when your average dealer goes into administration, nobody but the local newspaper really bats an eyelid, do they? But here it becomes quite big news.
Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
I feel for them, and I think with the you're saying about the point of what happens with the car if it's on sale or return. I think probably the worst that could possibly happen is those cars would potentially, if someone was coming in to collect on debts, they would seize them potentially, and you would then have to sort out the fact that no, they don't belong to GVE London, they belong to me, and and maybe GVE should pay a release fee or something, but you'd be paying it. So I can understand why when it's such large amounts, well, and also, I guess when people just get panicked, the cars might just disappear off the face of the earth. They might be, I'm not saying would, but what supercars get put in shipping containers in pieces and reassembled in some other, Eastern European country. So, I mean, I feel for them. I imagine they were feeling the pinch just like anyone else. And a sale or return model, I don't know anything about it. I don't know anything about supercars. But if you're doing sale or return, the other thing is you're not making as much money as you are if you own the car. You can have the full markup, but you're offering, the seller or the owner of the vehicle more money than they would get privately, and you would take a little bit off the top, which might be a set fee or it might be a commission base. I don't know, but it's not going to be the full whack. Like if you're Tom Hartley and you've, put your life savings into that car or whatever. So I feel for them, and I feel for them in the sense of this sort of social media exposure, because you're right, John, and even I have had, since, I put I think I spoke to the local press when we were saying we were going to close down the garage. We've not gone into administration. We're not in financial troubles. We've just made a decision to close the garage. But we did an article with the local thing. The Sun newspaper, who obviously does little articles on us for whatever reason, put it out. And I had to then quickly address it. And we've, despite having spoken to, say, like people we had stock funding with in advance, they went into an absolute panic. Even though I told them this was coming, they went into an absolute panic because someone there has seen the video, and then gossip gets around. Our Euro car parts account got closed the day after we'd ordered parts from them. They're like, well, you're closed, aren't you? We're like, no, the business isn't closed. We've just, so obviously someone's watched the video and they're like, oh, okay, close account.
For goodness sake.
Bizarre. And we had a customer car in for a warranty job that we were still fixing. And it said to him, by the way, we're closing down the site. That's why you see there's not many cars here, but we're not going anywhere. The business is fine. We're fixing your car. The guy was a big fan of the channel as well. Video came out on the weekend where I said, I'm closing the site. And I go through the same whole process of we're closing the site, but the business is carrying on. Absolute panic. And, thought I was stealing his car, essentially. So I feel for them because it all just comes in a rush and everyone feels sort of, I don't know, everyone is entitled to their opinion, but they want to share it with you. And I feel for George if he's not an owner or whatever. And yeah, it's a big story. I feel for everyone involved, really. It's just a shame, isn't it? But I'll still be interested to find out, what happens. Is there something salvageable there or not?
Yeah, I think just finally, just on this, I mean, the sale or return thing must be incredibly difficult to do because you're working on that margin, aren't you? And if that car comes back, it's still coming back to you as the dealer. You're still going to have to fix it. So it only takes a few whopping warranty claims on some of those cars to put you in trouble, doesn't it? I mean, can you imagine what it costs to put a new engine in? I'm just looking at it. He's got a row of Gallardos or whatever they are behind him.
Oh, do they put 1.2 PureTech in those as well?
Yeah, an Ingenium engine in that Hurricane.
Well, let's face it. Even a wing mirror, one of those is probably going to be £5,000.
I mean, yeah.
And you know how difficult customers can be when you're selling a Sportage. You're selling a Lamborghini. You say, look, we've got a second-hand one we can get from Italy here. It's immaculate and it's going to whatever. No, it needs to be brand new from Lamborghini. You just know the sort of arguments you're going to be having. So yeah, I don't.
And I don't think they were making whopping profits because when I produced that video, I tried to look into their accounts just to get an idea of what they were doing. And they were still publishing those abridged accounts where you don't have to put in all of the details. So they can't have been turning over huge amounts of money because I think the limit is 10 million for you to start having to publish everything. So it could have been on a precipice, really, is what I'm saying. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking because we've been going on for ages, John.
We've gone over our allotted time. So, Joe, before I ask for your verdict, are there any stories you think we should have talked about this week but we haven't?
I can't think of any. I think you've been quite comprehensive.
That's my answer.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to have to ask you, who chose the best stories, or what was your favourite story?
I think, although I almost don't want it to be the top story, but it is the most interesting, is the GVE London story. So well done, John.
Very good, John.
Finally, thank you so much.
I have to say a close second is the JLR one because I'm really interested. I feel bad that we're sort of following the two sort of dramatic stories here, but just want to know what happens.
Unfortunately, how it is on this podcast, we are hyenas. Going after the remains of companies or horrible things.
The ChatGPT, we could probably produce that image, John, for us.
I'd rather not. Well, that's a lovely little victory for me. Fantastic. But all that's left for me to say, before James says anything else, is thank you to Joe for coming on today. It's been great to catch up with you and hear about what you've got going on after your dramatic newspaper headlines, etc., etc.
Thank you for having me. No, it's been a pleasure. And very cathartic as well.
Nice to see you.
Yes, yes. And thank you as well to James. I don't know why, but I always say that. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. So make sure you're subscribed so you're notified when that goes live. If you want to check out the stories we mentioned today, take a look in the show notes below or head to cardealermagazine.co.uk. Thanks for listening and goodbye.